The following podcast is a Dear Media production.
Welcome back to the Real Stuff podcast and another amazing audience caller story. Today's episode takes us across the ocean to the United Kingdom, where our audience caller Gabrielle calls in to tell us the story of how she unfortunately lost decades of her life to severe mental health struggles. However, before you tune this one out, thinking, I don't really want to feel sad today, there's enough bad stuff happening in the world, let me assure you that this conversation is anything but sad. At the age of 34, after hitting a devastating rock bottom, as you will hear, everything shifted for Gabrielle when she made the radical decision to completely make over her life. Not by chasing some extreme overnight fix or by dishing out tons of money on alternative therapies, but rather by showing up for herself in small ways every single day. She built a healing routine that is rooted in daily journaling, meditation, cold exposure, and radical self-kindness. And in just a few months, she claims she felt like a totally different person. Before we dive into this episode, just a quick note that there might be people out there listening to this who are maybe in the midst of a severe mental health crisis thinking, wow, I wish it was that simple, Lucie. I wish lifestyle changes were actually the answer, but unfortunately, that's not the case. I totally understand for many people who are battling serious mental health crises, medication or maybe even a more drastic measure might be necessary. So this episode isn't a how to cure your mental illness episode, but remember, it's a personal story about one person's transformation. And I think no matter how severe your mental health issues are, these lifestyle changes might not be the magic pill or the final answer, but they can only help. And if you are willing and able to put in the work and try to commit, I think they can have profound impacts. I am so confident that this is going to be such an inspiring episode and conversation for many people out there. And also a huge shout out to Gabrielle for being open to coming on the show and being on video and sharing her real name. Not all of our audience callers do that. So please watch this episode on YouTube if you want to see the two of us talking face to face. And remember, if you have a story to share and you want to come on the show, please visit luciefink.com/apply and drop all of your information to come in as a guest on the show. Without further ado, let's go with Gabrielle. First of all, Gabrielle, where are you located?
I'm in the UK, so I'm in Manchester, in the north of the UK.
Well, thank you so much for writing into the show. I'm so happy to hear that the show has expanded to England. And your submission was really special to me because we get a lot of submissions on this show of crazy life stories, a lot of really negative and sad stories, you know, just by nature of asking for crazy stories. And when I got your submission, it was very different because your story goes from pretty negative in your childhood and in your 20s to a very, very, very positive ending right now. And the end of the story is beautiful. I was reading your submission and I just want to hear it firsthand from you. If you could please take us back to your earliest experiences in childhood and sort of the timeline of all of these mental health struggles that you've been through.
Yeah, so I'd say up until the age of 11, everything was going great for me. I was doing well at school, I was a popular child, didn't have any issues with mental health, but I'd say a pivotal age for me when I realized that things really started going wrong was the age of 11. So at the age of 11, some kids at school made comments about my appearance. They pointed some stuff out on my face that was different to other kids. And honestly, when I look back, that caused something to just snap in my brain. I feel like when you're a child, when you're a young girl, up until a certain age, you're not really aware of how you look. You're just having a good time playing with your friends. You're in the present moment. You're not really aware of your face and body. But in that moment, that's when it just dawned on me how I was different to other people. And that triggered an obsession with my appearance. And that's what started this awful narrative in my head, this narrative that beat me down, that said I was ugly, that I wasn't good enough. And that is when my depression and anxiety started. believing everything that narrative started to tell me. So at this age, became very aware of my physical appearance. I got body dysmorphia, absolutely obsessed with like how I looked and wanting to change myself. Also, a coping mechanism that came into play at this age because I was anxious. I started picking my skin. So obviously when we're younger, most people when they're a teenager, they get like pimples, they might squeeze them. But I squeeze my skin to like an extreme extent. Like I have got now scars on my face, all over my chest, my shoulders, my legs, my stomach, my back, absolutely everywhere. Obviously, now looking at me on the camera, you might be like, what are you going on about, Gabrielle? Your skin looks fine. But they've had chance to heal. And now literally it's just white dots all over my body. Probably not many people notice them. But when I notice them, it reminds me of what I've done to myself. So yeah, the skin picking, when I look back, that was a form of self-harm. It was a release for me to deal with the anxiety, but it's a vicious circle because you pick your skin, it makes you feel 10 times worse because you're like, oh my God, what have I done? Then you've got like scars to deal with. And in recent years, I actually ended up hospitalizing myself twice with skin picking. It got that bad. Literally, I could have ended up killing myself with skin picking, which is crazy. Imagine that, like dying from picking a pimple. But yeah, in recent years, I was on a farm working in Australia. You had to do that to get your second year visa. And I got a pimple at the side of my face and I picked it, but picked it to a really bad extent to where like my face was like deformed because there's that big of a lump. It turned into an abscess. I had to go to hospital and I had to get it drained, and I ended up with a hole in the side of my face. The doctors were like pinning me down on the bed. I can remember I was just like crying out, like, I can't believe this has happened. How has it got to this? Like, what's wrong with me?
Just to go back to this childhood time when the harsh words of others led to these negative thought spirals. We all know we can't control what other people say, or we can't control bullies and how people act towards us. But as a parent myself, I'm trying to understand what I could possibly do at home as the parent so that if that does happen to my child, and if there are kids who are doing things that I can't control and saying things to my kids, what could I possibly say to my own kids to help them so that those words don't carry so much weight? When you first heard those comments from the bullies about your appearance, did you share that with anyone from your household, or did you release that to anyone close to you and open up about it? And were there things that were or weren't said that could have maybe been helpful?
I never mentioned it to anyone, what was said about me. I think I completely internalized it. To be honest, actually, there was one comment that I told to my mum because I told her that I wanted surgery to fix this part of my body. So I told her about that comment, but I wasn't really open with my parents about stuff like this. I kept it to myself. And I think this is one of the issues that I've had all my life. I sort of burden myself with this stuff. But I think part of that is my mum is an incredibly anxious person. She's probably the most anxious person I have ever met in my life. So quite often I tell my mum stuff that was bothering me, and she would listen, but then she would be like, oh, I can't sleep because of what you told me. So in my young mind, I sort of thought, I can't tell my mum anything because everything stresses her out. Obviously, I've spoke to my mum about this in like recent years, and she said, it's just because I care about you. But in my head, I was thinking, I'm coming to you because I need you to be my mum. I need you to be strong for me. I've got something going on with me that I'm like worried about. But then I'm coming to you, and then I'm having to worry about you as well because I've got my own stuff to worry about. And now, because I've told you what I'm worrying about, now you're worrying. It's made me feel quite resentful towards my mother. I've got quite a bit of anger about that because I feel like yeah, it was a burden carrying all this mental health stuff with me. I think as a parent, if you want to protect your children from bullies at school, or maybe not even bullies, just people saying stuff about their appearance and them not being so sensitive to it, I think you really need to teach them about self-love and really instill that confidence within them from a young age. Children need to know that you don't need to believe every negative thought that comes into your head. Your mind can come up with all these thoughts. You don't have to believe everything that it's
Yeah.
saying to you. Depending on what age they are, you've got to adapt this, do you know what I mean, for their understanding.
It's hard because at the same time as I don't want it to come across like I'm putting blame on your mom, or I'm sure you don't want to throw all the blame of everything that's gone on in your life on how you were parented. But it is really interesting to hear that in hindsight, and it's great that you've been able to talk to your mom about it now in more recent years. I think that's something you hear a lot with parents where they are extremely anxious and wrapped up in their own children and what's going on in their children's lives, and they play it off as it's love. It's because I care about you so
Yeah.
much. And I'm not saying they're acting or, doing anything intentionally manipulative. They really do love their child and they want the best for them. But it's such a good learning for parents all around that actually the best way to show your child love is to let them come to you with problems that are burdening them, and to listen and to understand them and to tell them you understand that must hurt, but stay strong and solid as a guiding figure for them so that they can see an example of someone who has like a healthy way of processing what the world is throwing at them. What was the general sentiment in your family around body image? Did you hear your mom often comment on her own appearance?
Yeah, so this is what I forgot to add just then. So, when you're asking me what was going on in my household, I can empathize with my mother. Even though I have anger and resentment, I've got to empathize with her. She had a terrible childhood. Her mother left the household when she was very young, left her with an abusive father. There was violence in the household towards my mum's sister and my grandma. And my mum's dad called her ugly and stupid. In recent years, my nana actually told my mum, I don't know why she told her this, but she told her, she was like, "Oh, you do know that your dad never loved you."
Oh
But
no.
I know, I think that was quite obvious as well when my mum was younger. Like, if your dad's calling you ugly and stupid, there's not going to be much love there. But the tragic thing is, my mum is 67 years old now, and she still calls herself ugly and stupid, which is so sad. And literally, I pull her up on it now. Like, she'll make jokes about her appearance. And I used to do the same. A lot of people do it, they make fun of themselves. But I say to her, "Mum, you got to stop. I don't want to hear jokes about your appearance. Your words really matter. Even if it's a joke, this is all adding to this situation. Do you mean this is all adding to your anxiety?" When I think back to the age of 11, why did my head snap so much? Because this is what I'd seen at home. My mum calling herself ugly and stupid. Do you know what I mean? This was always going to happen. I tried to confront my mum about it. I said to her, like, "You need to be really careful what you say in front of your children. It can have a really like negative impact." But she shut me down when I said it. It was too stressful for her. She didn't want to hear it. Even recently, I've been listening to podcasts and they say about the effect of the mother's energy when you're in the womb. If my mother was chronically anxious when I was in the womb for 9 months, that has a massive impact on you, like a huge impact. And like your DNA, do you know what I mean? I feel like it's generational trauma as well. I feel like within my family, literally every member of my family has got mental health issues.
Yeah, it really is a story of, as you said, generational trauma. And you can't really fault your mom for the way she showed up in the world, given what her history was like, and given the fact that she never sought counseling. Which leads us to, I know in your submission, you wrote to me about a few other, major low points in your life, everything
Yeah.
from severe eating disorders to alcohol abuse, and then all the way to a very toxic relationship that you got out of. I would love to briefly talk about those things and just kind of give people a little bit more detail and color about the negative stuff you went through. And then we can start getting into all the amazing work you've done to really break this generational trauma.
So some low points for me, just going through the timeline of my life. So obviously that at 11, that kicked everything off, this negative trajectory for me. Age 17 was really pivotal for me. I'd always done good academically. At this age, at 17, I finished college, jacked in college twice, got completely lost and obsessed with what am I going to do when I'm older, just felt completely lost. My eating disorder started, so I had anorexia and bulimia. That was from the age of 17 until the age of 24. I ended up healing that myself at the age of 24. I got into the gym, but that was an incredibly lonely time of my life. I had it severely for 18 months.
When you were going through those eating disorders, because you didn't necessarily have a positive example or a motherly figure to kind of help pull you out of that, how was it that while you were going through it, you were able to identify that it was a problem and have the will to pull yourself out of it? And what do you mean when you say you got out of it by going to the gym? Like, what did you do actually to break out of that?
At the age of 24, if I'm completely honest, the thing that got me out of it was that the trends changed. So when I was a teenager, role models were people like Kate Moss, Victoria Beckham. This phrase was going round like heroin chic, like these models just drinking coffee all day and smoking all day, like very, very thin frames. And so that's what I started to do. My eating disorder, though, it wasn't really triggered from those role models. It was triggered from one of my first relationships. When that ended, it ended in a really bad way. This guy that I've been seeing for 10 months, he ghosted me. Saw this girl in the toilet that he'd apparently cheated on me with. She was stick thin with massive boobs. And again, my head just completely snapped. I looked at her and I was like, I need to look like that. And that night I went home, and I can remember the next day my mum made me my dinner, threw half of it in the bin, and that started 8 years of suffering with eating disorders. But yeah, how I got out of it, the age of 24, the trends changed. So I was on social media, girls are like, oh, we're getting fit and strong, we're growing our booties, stuff like that. And to be honest, it came at a good time because I was like, I'm sick of being tired and cold all the time. When you've got anorexia, you're just tired and cold, just lifeless, just I was just tired of that. But it just shows how influential our young minds are. Because maybe if it wasn't for that trend changing, I wouldn't have had that motivation to change. So I was like, oh, I want to look like these girls now. I want to go to the gym and build my bum and stuff.
It also shows the importance of not just content creators, but the general media industry. It shows the importance of when there is a big shift, and with things like the body positivity movement, and as you're saying, a shift towards strength and focusing on nourishing yourself. Those things do actually have a ripple effect and a cultural impact. It's not just people making content for fun, but there's people around the world consuming it who make actual changes in their lifestyle from it.
Yeah, definitely. There's two sides to social media, isn't there? That it can inspire you in positive ways, but then obviously with body image, body dysmorphia, it can heighten that as well and exacerbate it. My focus was on lifting heavier and heavier each session, obviously without injuring myself. And I just dove into eating bigger portions of food, like predominantly healthy. That's the thing at home. We were always brought up to be really healthy. My mum always cooked from scratch. That's one thing I will say about my parents. Like, even though I'm saying that maybe with my mum, she had a negative impact on me, one thing I will say about my upbringing, my parents always instilled in us the need to be healthy. So, good food. They always had us exercising from a young age, like, took us swimming from a young age. And my parents give me a lot of love and a lot of time. With me, it wasn't the case that all my parents weren't available to me. My mum quit work and my dad went out to work. So she was always at home with me and my sister. My parents are very caring and loving people. But I think just because of what happened to them when they were younger, they just didn't heal that. So it just got passed on to us. But yeah, I just wanted to add that.
No, I appreciate that. And it is important to see the nuances in parental relationships because, I don't think there's any parent anywhere who's doing everything all wrong or any parent who's doing everything all right. And it's easy to hear a story like yours and for people to point fingers at your parents or at their parents and say it's passed down, it's cyclical, it's their fault. But it's good to be reminded that there were good things done as well and that they made some right decisions. Let's keep going to the toxic relationship. And that one question on that, seeing as you had a couple of relationships that were not so healthy, the first one that drove you into an eating disorder and then the one that you're going to get to now, would you say that any of your relationship history was passed on from your parents? What was their relationship like with each other?
That's interesting. So my mum and dad's relationship, they've been together since their 20s. They're 67 now. They've never got married. So people used to think that was unusual. They're like, oh, your parents aren't married. I was like, no, they're not married, but they're still together. My dad, his anxiety shows up in his OCD. My dad has got very bad OCD when it comes to cleanliness and germs. He's never addressed that again. But because my mum was very submissive, she's just gone along with that. But it's funny because now that I'm in a healthy relationship, I can see now how my relationship is starting to emulate my parents. And since moving into an apartment with my boyfriend, I've noticed that I've started to get a bit of OCD, but I'm very mindful for it not to get its grips into me like it has done with my father. So that is definitely something I need to keep an eye on. But yeah, my parents, they're very loving towards one another. I think maybe just one thing that I've noticed with my parents is just a breakdown in communication, maybe. But with me and my boyfriend, even though in some ways it's a bit similar to my mum and dad's relationship, we've got really good communication, and that's something that has just been amazing. It's been an absolute breath of fresh air for me because in my previous relationships, communication was non-existent, and it is so important for your peace, happiness, and the longevity of a relationship.
And I don't think people really notice it until they get into therapy. But so much of how you show up in your life and relationship is a little bit of a mirror to what you saw growing up, the positive sides, but also negatives. And I think a lot of adults start to notice, it's a trope. I'm becoming my mom, I'm becoming my parents. It's a trope for a reason because we do start to subconsciously emulate what we know and what we've seen. It just shows where you're at today, mental health wise, that you're able to even recognize that and able to see, oh, I'm exhibiting some OCD tendencies. What can I do about this so that it doesn't grip me? I would love for us to now completely migrate the conversation to the positives. My understanding of severe mental health struggles is people kind of know logically, if I do XYZ, if I make these number of lifestyle changes, let's just say meditating regularly, starting to journal, going to the gym, eating healthier, getting good sleep, if I do this laundry list of things, my mental health will improve. And there's so much science to prove it, and they're smart. They know that that's the case. The problem is actually pushing their body physically to do the things that they need to do. And, some people can't even get up out of bed. Other people who are high functioning can get out of bed, but they still can't find the will to get to the gym regularly. And it's just so hard to start the patterns and the habits that they need to help themselves without the help of something like an SSRI or therapy. Can you talk about when you really started to make these leaps and how you feel like you had it in you to do the things you needed to do?
Yeah, so I literally, like, from the age of 11 to 30, I just trundled along. Depression, anxiety was absolutely crippling for me, just stagnating for years and years. Couldn't find a healthy relationship, never had a boyfriend. If I did, it was toxic. My career was going nowhere, no peace, no real happiness in my life, always looking externally, thinking, oh, if I'm skinnier, or if I have this surgery done, or if I could just find the right man, that I'll be happier. But it took for me to hit a really catastrophic rock bottom in one of my toxic relationships because I had such little self love. I ended up attracting really toxic people, and naturally, I attracted narcissists. And yet, in this relationship with my covert narcissist ex, that ended really, really badly. I found messages to a prostitute on his phone.
Wow.
I moved out the house that day. And in that moment, I was just like, there'd been a lot of stuff leading up to this. There'd been other situations with guys, and it was just getting worse and worse and worse. Like every guy that I went to, I was just like, oh my God, what's it going to be next? If I looked in the mirror and I was like, you know what? You can't blame this on anyone else but yourself. You're the common denominator here. You seriously need to change, Gabrielle. Otherwise, I was scared of what would happen next. Like, what would the next relationship serve up? I even thought, like, I don't know, could I end up being like physically abused in a relationship at this rate? Because it was just getting so bad. My life felt like a nightmare. But that was the rock bottom for me. And that put me on this trajectory of healing. And I decided to go for therapy. I had 10 therapy sessions. I think it was like CBT that I had, so talking therapy. And I had some huge epiphanies after that therapy. I was like, I hate myself. If you had asked me, do you hate yourself? I'd have said no. But from my actions, what I did to myself, skin picking, abusing myself with alcohol, letting myself suffer in terrible relationships, starving myself, just the words that I said to myself in my head, like that's the actions of someone who absolutely hates themselves. And I realized in that moment, I was like, do you know what? I've put every bit of my energy into sabotaging my life. What would happen if I put 100% of my energy into a positive direction and try to turn around my life? I'm sure I could do. And that was just in that moment, I just realized that. And I was like, that's what I'm going to do. So I just started doing the things that you hear about, journaling, started doing a bit of that. I did it consistently every day for a month. That made me feel a bit better. Started implementing boundaries with guys, really aligning to my intuition, actually listening to my intuition for once. When I aligned to my intuition and started really listening to my body, I realized alcohol really didn't agree with me. So now I barely drink. Maybe at Christmas I'll have like a hot chocolate with Baileys in it. My relationship with alcohol was just terrible. Like I abused alcohol. It was escapism for me. I used it to numb my pain. Another thing that doesn't agree with me is caffeine. I think because I'm prone to anxiety, caffeine just makes me anxious. So I barely have caffeine now, and if I ever slip off the wagon and do have it, I suffer for it. So yeah, sacrificing things has been part of my healing journey. Over this last 5 years, really living by the motto of being kind to myself. And I know that people say, oh yeah, you just need to be kind to yourself, you need to love yourself. But this is really taking it seriously. This is every day questioning my thoughts every single day. Was that a kind thought? My brain's telling me to do something. Is that what I need right now? Like maybe I come home from work, I've had a bad day, I feel stressed out, I've got a bit of anxiety. In the past, my broken brain would have said to me, oh, go and pick your skin for a release, go out and get obliterated on alcohol, you need escapism. That is not what I deserve in that moment. That is not what I need. In that moment, I need to soothe myself. I need to do things that are going to calm myself, not exacerbate that situation. So just doing those things, that allowed me to do so much better in my career, and it allowed me to find a healthy relationship. So at the age of 32, I got into a relationship with my current boyfriend, and honestly, I'm just grateful every single day for him. I can't even believe that I managed to find a healthy relationship. I honestly thought I was just doomed. Just the way that I was for like 20 years, such negative patterns in my behavior and thoughts. I felt like my brain was broken, and I just thought, I thought there was no way out, but I realized when you apply yourself, you can really turn it around. Then, though, probably about the age of 33, even though I was feeling better, found love, doing better in my career, I can remember I went on holiday with my boyfriend. We went for a weekend away, and it was in the autumn time, winter time. So when it gets dark in the evenings, I can suffer with seasonal affective disorder where you get low mood. And I said to him, I was like, in the evenings, do you get like really dark thoughts sometimes? And he was like what? And I was like about like something bad's gonna happen, like death or this like impending doom. And he was like, no, not really. And I realized that even though I'd healed so much, anxiety and depression was still playing a big role in my life, especially in the autumn and winter months with the dark nights. And I don't want the seasons to have such an impact on me. I don't want to wish away the autumn and winter months. That's 6 months of the UK. So it was last October I committed myself to a winter mental health challenge, and all the things that people tell you to do. So meditation, breath work, cold water exposure, journaling. I dedicated to doing that every single day. So every day I wake up, 20 minutes meditation, 10 minutes breath work, one A5 page of journaling, and a cold shower. Also, I've implemented gratitude as well. So within my journaling, like really being grateful for the basics. And I mean, you might laugh at this, but like stuff like, I'm grateful that I've got 2 legs and I'm able to walk. I'm grateful that I've got eyes and I can see. Do you mean like really taking it back to the basics? Stuff that we take for granted. I kept that daily practice from October to the end of February. And honestly, it healed my anxiety and depression. I used to think that I had nothing to give the world. Literally, I was just like, what am I here for? To be honest, if I'm really honest, my aspiration, I had no career aspirations, and all I wanted was to find a rich guy so he could literally bail me out of my shit life. I was just waiting for this white knight in shining armor to come and pick me up and just bankroll me. Physical symptoms that I've noticed that have cleared up. So my sleep used to be absolutely terrible. Insomnia, I used to have a twitch in my eye constantly. Stomach issues as well. Rashes on my body. I had ringworm for ages. All that's gone. And it's because I've committed myself every day to this practice. I've made sacrifices. I just want to be an example to people that if you really commit to it, if you're really disciplined and you're really serious about wanting to feel better, you can literally work absolute magic in your life and you can turn it all around.
First of all, a huge congratulations on literally pulling yourself out of the dark. What you have done is, as you're saying, so accessible and so baseline and should be so easy that you wonder why the whole world's not doing it. But unfortunately, it does take a layer of pushing and dedication that is hard for a lot of people to do. Everyone just wants a magic pill that's going to give them the effects of doing that 35-minute routine. But to hear you talk about doing it, it's like I can imagine people out there listening to this thinking, I know from all my past learnings and also from listening to Gabrielle talk, I know that those things would be helpful for me. But I truly just feel such resistance in the moment. And every morning when I wake up, it feels like I'm bracing myself for a marathon just to sit there and meditate for 10 minutes. I've even felt moments of that where, I know I should be meditating. At different times in my life, I've had bullet journal trackers and different tactics and techniques to get myself to try to stick to it. And meditation just particularly has been one thing that I, for whatever reason, have been absolutely unable to do repeatedly and keep up habitually. Can you just talk a little bit about some of the moments in that October to February period when you did feel that resistance? Or was it really just all smooth sailing because you were so all in at this point?
I think you've got to start small. So maybe start with some people might have to start with 2 minutes, then work up to 5, work up to 10. The reason I struggled, and I think the reason a lot of people struggle, is because we're addicted to dopamine hits. We're addicted to our phones. If I was feeling crap about myself, I'd want to go on my phone, distract myself with that. It's all external things that I wanted, like, oh, go out and get high on alcohol, attention. Like, I was an attention seeker as well, wanting validation off men. These are all like high dopamine hits, and you get addicted to it. So when someone tells you, like, I remember years ago when I was trying to heal and people said, oh yeah, you need to sit down and journal and meditate and do breath work. I was just like, what? I was like, that sounds boring. That sounds so boring, because literally I was just like boom, 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 like alcohol, plastic surgery, Botox, like all these stuff to give me a quick high, just wanting all this feedback. So yeah, to do meditation and breath work, it seems so boring, but you have got to push through. Like, I just thought, I really want this. I really want to change. Maybe it's helped because now I'm a bit older, like I'm 35 now. So maybe like I've mellowed a bit and started to get a bit wiser, but that's what I struggled with. So throughout the 4 months that I did that winter mental health challenge, honestly, even now, like, I kept that winter mental health challenge up. I still do this routine every day. Even now, my first instinct in the morning when I wake up is to go on my phone and go straight on social media. Even now, even though I've been doing it for like however many months, 7 months, but I have strict protocols with myself. So I say to myself, I don't go on social media until 10 a.m. every day. And I don't go on it for at least an hour before bed. As I've started to increase the breath work and meditation, it's like you build a muscle. Once you break through the resistance and break through to that other side, there is so much peace and joy to be found on that other side. And honestly, when you calm your body, you calm your mind, you've got clarity to think. Ideas start coming through. Like, you start, oh my God, I've realized my purpose. Do you mean I used to look out there and think, how have all these people got all these ideas for stuff and I've not? But it's because I only had one narrative in my mind and there was no space for anything else to come through. But yeah, once you push through and you do it consistently, I'd say for a month, and you start feeling the positive benefits, you can't stop. You cannot stop. Like, now I know I will always keep this up in some way, shape, or form. I started off doing the Wim Hof meditation. You can get it for free on YouTube. It's 10 minutes. Follow that. I started with that. That's really, really good. Sometimes I do that. So I literally did that just before I came on this podcast. Or sometimes now I just take 30 deep breaths in the morning and I'll do 4 seconds in, hold for 4 seconds and 4 seconds out. And then at the end of the 10 breaths, I just hold it for however long I want, maybe 30 seconds, a minute. For the meditation, there's this guy on Spotify called Jason Stevenson, and I just listen to the guided meditation. And some days are better than others. Some days I catch myself and the narrative's going in my head thinking, oh, what I want to do today and blah, blah, blah. Then I'm like, oh, and then pull myself back to it. But then sometimes I really lock in with it. I've had some like really unusual experiences from it, like big energy feelings of like jolts of energy in my body, having certain visions and stuff like that. But yeah, that's what I do. Then journaling. If I'm feeling like low mood, I'll express gratitude. If I'm feeling anxious, like if there's something on my mind, then I do a brain dump and literally just write out exactly what I'm feeling. Or if I want to manifest, I use my journaling for manifesting as well. Write about my future goals and write about them as if they've already happened. So it's like I'm writing a story about my life, like, oh, I'm doing this career, I live here, blah, 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 I earn this amount of money, and I'm writing about it as if it's already happened. And then the cold water, you can just do that at home, like a 1-minute cold shower. I'll have a warm shower first, and at the end I'll turn it to cold.
How cold are we talking?
I just put the shower all the way to cold. It's pretty cold.
It's so inspiring to hear what you've been able to do and how you've been able to continue it and carry it forward. And my hope is that people out there who are listening to this, I think sometimes you need to flood yourself with information and positive examples and other people that have done something successfully in order to give you that little nudge to get you up off your couch to do something. I don't know what you do for work, but just hearing you talk, I'm like, I think you should be a motivational speaker or a coach or a YouTuber, a podcaster who's talking about what you do, because I'm tempted to go take a cold shower right now just from talking to you. And I'm sure there are people out there listening who they just need examples like you. And on social media, if you are going to be on social media frequently and you have trouble putting your phone down, then retrain your social media algorithm so that it's showing you content that is inspiring and positive for you. Type into the search bar of Instagram and TikTok, cold plunge, meditation, journaling, breath work. Tell your algorithm that you're interested in these things so that it starts serving you content that is inspiring to you, instead of showing you, spirals of bad news and scary stories, things happening around the world. Start telling the internet what you want to see.
I think sometimes we think we're powerless and we give our power away to these things, like especially the phone. Even for me now, the phone, sometimes I fall into scroll holes for like an hour, and it's looking at things that are not helpful for me. So if I ever go on social media pages where it's all about how someone looks, like their body and that can be really triggering for me. But we have the power within us. If you really want to get better at something, if you don't want the phone to have the power over you, you can do that. Do you know what I mean? But you've just got to be disciplined and you've just got to really want it. But it's just taking these small steps and having these boundaries. But it's thinking long term as well. It's thinking like, okay, I can go on my phone now for hours, but how am I going to feel afterwards? And what do I deserve? Like, is that being kind to myself? For me, going on my phone, going on my scroll hole is not being kind to myself, because afterwards, I often notice my mood is lower. I have feelings of anxiety. So yeah, it's really being strong with your boundaries. You can take charge. You can take charge of your life. I often say, like, for those 20 years when I was asleep, I was just at the mercy of my mind. But now I feel like I'm back in the driving seat. I observe my thoughts, I question them, I observe my actions, I put in habits, I put in boundaries, and I try my best to stick to them. I'm not superhuman. Like I said, still in the morning, that instinct, that urge to just go for my phone. It's still now, it's hard. It's hard to keep it up. But like I said, once you break through, you can't go back. I feel like before I was addicted to like dark, negative things, whereas now with time, I'm addicted to positive things and I'm addicted to feeling good, this feeling of not having anxiety and depression every day, being more confident, being in a healthy relationship. That's really addictive. I want more of that now. I don't want to go back to that other side because it was just awful.
Gabrielle, I love this. I'm so impressed by you. You're so well spoken, and I know this is going to be inspiring to so many people. I would love to know, if you're comfortable sharing, what are you doing for work now and what is this purpose that you found?
So at the minute, I'm an office manager. I've been an office manager for quite a number of years and I do enjoy my job. It's very varied. It allows me to be creative. It allows me to be a nurturer as well. So literally, I don't get involved in the business side of things. I just look after everyone in the office, which I really enjoy. I enjoy like caring for people. But yeah, my purpose now, I really want to help people. Like I said, I've been through a lot and I feel like I've turned it around and I can be an example to people. I know what people need to do. So actually at the minute, I'm training to be an intuitive psychology coach. For the future, I'd love to do one-on-one coaching. I'd love to run courses. I'd love to run in-person events. I'd love to write a book, go on more podcasts. I don't know, maybe have my own podcast. I set up my own YouTube channel and I've been sharing my story on social media as well. So I'm throwing myself into this for so many years. Like I said, I didn't know my purpose. And even when my purpose came to me, I was so scared to share on social media. Like the fear had its grips in me so much. And I was like, oh God, what will people say? But that fear, it actually made me feel ill. It gave me insomnia and I just felt so misaligned in my body that eventually I just had to start sharing my story. That feeling was so strong within me. So yeah, I'm on my way to achieving the vision that I've got for my future.
Well, I've only just met you, but I think you're destined to be a coach. And I'm excited to see what you do. And truly, thank you so much for writing in to be on the show and sharing this story. As I said at the start, hearing a story that is truly a 180 turn of events and it has its negative sides, and then there's so much brightness after the dark is inspiring. And I just met you, but I'm so proud of you. Thank you for writing in, and it was great meeting you today.
Thank you so much, Lucie, and thanks so much for letting me come on the podcast. I've absolutely loved speaking to you, and well done to you as well. I'm so proud of you. Literally, I've been listening to your podcast. I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
You're a natural at this. You're so good.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Real Stuff podcast. If you're liking the show, please head over to Apple or Spotify and leave us a written review. If you're watching on YouTube, drop a comment down below and join in the conversation. And if you're feeling called to be a guest on the show, visit luciefink.com/apply and tell us your story. Thank you so much, as always, for sharing your time and attention with us, and we will see you next time on the Real Stuff podcast.
Please note that this episode may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products and services. Individuals on the show may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to in this episode.